Call to order the Wheeling Plan Commission for Thursday, May 24th, 2012. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would the Secretary please call the roll?
Commissioner Burns.
Here.
Commissioner Dorban.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson. Here. Commissioner Fadam here. Commissioner Schaaf.
Here.
Commissioner Stylen. Here. And Chairman Maloney.
Here. Mr. Jennings, are there any changes to the agenda?
There are no changes this evening.
Okay, we have no consent items. We go to items for review. Docket number PC 12-18, Husky Park redevelopment, 1100 Lee Street and 228 West Norman Lane, minor site plan and appearance approval of a park. Mr. Jennings.
Yes, prior to the meeting, the Plan Commission did receive an updated set of plans for this, and I believe we have Mr. Raffle here from the Park District to present and answer any questions.
You would
Good evening,
identify
everyone.
yourself?
I am Larry Raffle. I'm the Superintendent of Planning at the Wheeling Park District. I also have here is Sue Stein, one of our board commissioners, here to present. And what I'd like to do, if I might, is give you a little background on the park itself and what we plan to do, kind of an overview. This is a five-acre park. For those of you who are familiar with it, it's kind of tucked into that neighborhood just east of Schoenbach, between Anthony and Norman Lane. And it's a 5-acre park, but the pond, or the detention basin, is 3 acres, and that is a easement to the village of Wheeling. It currently provides detention for the Hawthorne subdivision, and as part of our overall renovation of this park, we're not doing anything with that detention basin, or for that matter, anything west of the playground itself, other than to add benches and trash receptacles. So as I think I noted in my cover letter, we held several neighborhood meetings with the neighbors of this, with the neighbors of the park, dating back to the summer of 2006. And one of the things is we wanted to kind of address their issues with the park. And in doing so, we developed a conceptual plan. And then one of the first things we did is we ended up purchasing a piece of property on Norman Lane. And yeah, I was going to say, I'm sure you have a picture of that. Well, actually, if you look at the existing, the site inventory analysis, if you see, look at the S, single-family homes on the side, that's the piece of property we purchased. And you'll see on the conceptual plan, it's shown on that plan. But we purchased that because one of the neighbors' main concerns was the isolation of that park. You really, except for from Lee Street, you can't see into that park at all. And you can't access the park except from Lee Street or through an easement we have off of Anthony Lane, which is really that little narrow piece that says access from neighborhood. This park has a lot of visibility issues. You just can't see into it. And so we purchased the property, and we've just gotten tremendous positive comments from the neighbors now about that purchase. And as you'll see from the plan, we put a path in so people can actually access from the neighborhood. You can see that on the site master plan. So as I said, this time what we are planning to do as part of the redevelopment is the playground, some pathways adjacent to the playground, adding the amenities that this park really is missing, such as benches, trash receptacles, bike racks, additional landscaping, and some other site amenities that all fall right into that. In fact, this enlargement area, they all fall into this area itself. If I could start just with the playground, one of the things with the existing playground is it's really spread out over, well, it was over 4 separate areas. And then we removed one area and landscaped, and now it's 3 separate areas. But really what we want to do is consolidate it. So if you're bringing a 6-year-old to the playground and you're bringing a 3-year-old to the playground, you can watch them both at the same time. Now, we do separate the playground area. The playgrounds themselves, you'll see there's a structure for the 2 to 5s and a structure for the 5 to 12s, but we wanted to bring it all into that one area where you see the playground. So we're consolidating that. The other thing we're doing is we're adding a gazebo. The existing playground really doesn't have any shade other than the shade trees. So we're adding that gazebo right there, and in my updated information, I provided a plan of that. It's a 2-tiered gazebo, 24-foot diameter hexagon with a metal seam roof. So we're adding shade, and then, like I mentioned, and if we can go back to the overall site master plan, we've added benches and trash and recycling receptacles throughout. There's 10 of them total. So one of the things is we've got this beautiful path around this detention area, which I call detention area, but it's actually a really nice, wetlands, prairie, native planting, which I was out there this morning. It's just beautiful. A lot of birds, a lot of wildlife in there. But you can walk around it, but you really couldn't sit down and look at it. So we've added benches all the way around it with trash and recycling receptacles. And then the other thing I've noted is informational signs. And one of the things we want to do is have signs, and I do have a picture of one that I took up at Lake County, where we can give people some information on the wetlands, the hydrology, the bird life, those type of things. So people can they can look at it and they can learn about it too. So we're adding that as well. So we're adding benches and trash recycling receptacles throughout. We're adding bike racks at the playground and basketball area, if we can go back to the enlargement there. Another thing that this park doesn't have are bike racks. So you can see that just south of the basketball courts. And we'd add 2, which I believe holds up to 24 bicycles. So it really can accommodate, because right now you go out there and you just see the bikes lying on either on the grass or the pavement. So we're going to add bike racks too. I might mention also that the existing benches are a wire mesh. They're not particularly comfortable, and they're only around the playground and the basketball courts. So what we're doing is we're adding them throughout the park. The other thing we're doing as part of this plan is you'll notice a perennial garden and a public garden. And the perennial garden is basically adding additional plantings, native perennials and native plantings in that area where we had the fountain, if those of you who recall the fountain that we put in 2001. It was a flow forms type of fountain, which was these concrete formed dishes where water would kind of cascade one down to another, down to the bottom. Vandals broke them pretty quickly. And then the other thing is they never really functioned properly because they used recycled water from the detention basin, and the detention basin was usually too low to recycle the water back up. So it was never really functional. What we'd like to do as part of this perennial garden is make a standalone fountain where the water will come down more of a natural cascade on the limestone outcroppings into a pool at the bottom of that, then be recycled back up. So it would function independent of the detention basin. We feel really to make that kind of a nice garden. It's nice to still have the falling water. All the pipes are in place. We just need to kind of have a collection pool at the end. And then the public garden was really more of a nicely landscaped space, and we've added a pathway through that where people can just enjoy the landscaping. That pathway, which you see as a different color, would be unit pavers, either a brick type of paver or a limestone or bluestone type of paving. So that's one of the additional pathways we've added through there. Right now, there's a path that comes off by the building up at top, which incidentally is the pump house, which is operated by the village, but it doesn't go anywhere. Basically kind of goes right into that limestone outcropping and dies. So we're making a little loop around that as well. The other thing we're doing is we're restriping the basketball court right now. It's strictly asphalt. We want to stripe it so that 3 half-court games can go on at the same time. One of the comments we got from the neighbors is that if the older kids get on the basketball court, the young kids just can't use it. So we want to make it real clear that these are 3 separate courts, and 3 half-court games can go on at the same time. So that's the basketball court. if I could talk a little bit about the playground, and I gave you some information on that. We had our neighborhood meeting last Thursday on the playground. We presented them. Typically what we do is we put together a request for proposal, we send it out to the playground reps, we let them design it, and then we give them parameters, but we let them design it, and we take it back to the neighborhood. This concept, you see, was chosen unanimously by the neighborhood. It's landscape structures of the equipment. It's probably one of the nicest types of playground equipment. Staff felt that the color didn't quite fit with the park itself, so we will go back and be changing the colors of it. And we also want to look at the roof structures to see if we might want to change that to add a little bit more shade on the playground equipment. But in and of itself, it's a really nice, well-made piece of equipment. It's a combination of permaline plastic and poly-coated steel posts. The other thing is with this revised playground concept, we need retaining walls because we're going to be cutting into a slope a little bit. So you can see we placed a detailed retaining wall, and this is the same type of block that we've actually used in the past, and we presented to the commission in the past. We did it at Meadowbrook, although it's not a retaining wall, but it's the same type of block. This will be a retaining wall, so it's a little bit different. It's got kind of a setback to it, and it retains the maximum height of this retaining wall in this location will be 4 feet. That's the maximum, and it goes down from there. You can also see the other site amenities that we're using, the bike rack, the benches, and the trash and recycling receptacles. These are now our standards throughout the parks. We've used these at all of our parks. I believe these are the ones that we've shown you when I've come before you before. So this is an overview of the park itself. Like I say, we're basically renovating the playground, adding a gazebo. And the last thing I want to mention about the playground is we'll be using a synthetic safety surface. We're no longer using mulch. And last time I came before you, I mentioned at Meadowbrook we're using the artificial grass. I don't know if any of you have been out there to see it, but I do have samples of it here if you would like to see it. It's worked real well at Northbrook. North side, we use the system that I think I referred to last time I was here as like stale spaghetti or something. And that's kind of a very finely meshed, thin rubber. And here we're looking at either of those two options or another one that's a straight synthetic tile. And we'll do some type of pattern like we did at Northside. And basically, I've given you kind of a lot of information there on our redevelopment. Again, this is part of a neighborhood redevelopment program that the Park District Board of Commissioners adopted back in earlier this year. So every year we'll be coming before the Plan Commission on a neighborhood park redevelopment. And having kind of gone through all that, I'd be happy to answer any questions the Commission may have.
We'll begin with Commissioner Dorband.
Thank you. As always, these plans that you bring us are always so nicely put together, and you always do such a nice job. Do you have a target date for completion?
We'd like to begin the construction documentation beginning of June and have all the permits in place to begin at probably the end of August. This will be publicly bid, so we have to go through the bid process, and then again we will be coming back to the village for the permits.
But do you have a target date?
Completion?
When it would be completed?
Hopefully I'm saying by November of this year. Yeah, we will complete this project this year, and we will be doing most of it in-house.
The retention area, do you have rain garden materials in there also, or are you just using straight retention materials in there, like prairie grasses and things like that?
We're not touching that at all because that was actually really well done when they did the restoration, and it's a combination of emergent wetlands, restored wetlands, and prairie creation areas. So we're not touching that at all. We could do, rain garden type of design with the perennial garden that we're planning, or the public garden, but we're not going to touch the detention area at all.
I always think rain gardens are so neat to look at because they just seem to do so well in some really wet areas.
Yeah.
That's-
I did talk actually with Kevin Gray quite a while ago on this, and we didn't want to disturb that area because we didn't really know how the village controls it in terms of detention. And we didn't want to kind of create anything that might have affected, their operation of that. But we can do it outside of that area.
I think those are all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Stylen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think, as always, you've done a wonderful job. And, this is another one of those parks in town that you would really never know if it was there. If you do go down Lee Street, you don't know if you can park there or not. And, can you get out of the car and go to the... if you park over on, Anthony, I think, where the little entrance is, you don't know if that's really somebody's yard or, is it the park? And, I think you've done a lot with the signs there recently. But I like the idea of opening it up on the east side. I think that's really good. Were there any comments about parking from the users of this park?
The comments we got from the user of the park is that other people come to the park and park, particularly on Lee Street. And one of the things in our comprehensive plan is neighborhood parks really don't have parking. I mean, we've kind of made it a point not to place parking lots at our neighborhood parks. And I think by opening it up off of Norman Lane, we could alleviate some of the parking on Lee Street.
Lee Street, yeah. Okay, that's my only question, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Schaaf.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Larry, as the other commissioners have said, it's good presentation. You always do. And it's time that Husky Park, because I live in that neighborhood, they're on Redwood. And I know my kids used to walk back through there. Of course, most of the time it was winter time, and they used that retention basin for sledding. So hopefully that's not going to be, used for that. The playground area did need to be redone, and you've done a good job. My only question was, until I drove by Norman Lane, was what are you going to do with that house? But I see that you've already done that. So it looks good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Raffato.
Commissioner Schaaf made a comment about the sledding. I mean, kids are still going to be able to sled there, right? There's no, it's not something that that you could stop, right?
Well, we do have a sign posted right now that says no sledding, but, other than
my goodness, I see so many people there all the time, so.
I think it's been, over time, it's just kind of become a de facto sled hill.
Right.
But we have posted a sign that
Sign's working. I went by the other day and there wasn't anyone sledding.
Right. So just, it's a great plan. It really is a great plan. One of the things that I found interesting is on your original plan, you had, you mentioned areas of graffiti and poor visibility in the park, which you've taken care of. But is there much graffiti there now that you've made it more visible to the areas? I know because there's no proposed lighting, so it's still, at night you're going to have issues. Do you have any?
The graffiti, well, there is lighting there. We do have lights around that playground area and basketball court, but the graffiti is definitely less since we opened that park up to Norman Lane. I mean, it's been, less graffiti. We, unfortunately, we have graffiti at all our parks.
Oh, yeah, right, exactly.
But not, one of the things, we don't have nearly the graffiti. We also don't have the damage. We had a lot of people, like breaking up that fountain that we put in, and we just aren't finding that because now it's more visible.
Good, excellent. Are you changing any of the lighting in this area?
No, we're not. We're keeping the existing light poles will be there. I believe there's 3 of them. We're going to keep those. We did a couple years back, actually in response to neighbors' concerns, we added a second head onto one of the light poles, and focused it and kind of directed it towards the fountain. But we're not adding any additional lighting.
Okay, good. And then last question is, what's the distance? I assume you can walk that pole. What is the distance?
The loop of the path?
Right.
I knew you were going to ask me that, and so I figured it out. It's a third of a mile.
Okay.
Exactly. So, and one of the other things I forgot to mention is, I know we've talked about this before, is posting on our signs as you come into a park, the distance of the loop path. We really want to do that, as well as, what amenities are in the park.
Great. Thank you. Good plan. That's all I had.
Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you. I think it looks like a great plan and have no further questions.
Commissioner Burns.
Thanks. It does look great. The improvements you've made already are beautiful, and this plan looks like it's going to be more of the same. I walk this park most days with my dogs, and I know that the graffiti, what are you going to do? I mean, they've actually recently spray painted a couple of the trees, for goodness sakes.
Yeah.
Good luck. I hope the new fountain doesn't suffer the same fate as the last one. Will that still have recycled water from the retention pond?
Not from the retention pond. The intention, because the level of the retention pond is never quite high enough to actually do the recycle. So what
Not never.
Huh?
Not never.
No, right, I shouldn't say never.
Sometimes, yeah.
But what we'd like to do is it will be recycled, but it'll be self-contained. So the water will come down to like a pool at the bottom of the fountain, then be pumped back up to the top. It won't depend on the level of the water in the detention pond. And it'll also be constructed differently. Those dishes just didn't work quite right. They were a little bit too fragile, and people broke them. This will be have more of a natural look to it with the limestone.
Yeah. Still looks good. Looked even better when the water was flowing down there, but
Well, we hope to get that happening again.
okay. Those are my comments and questions. Thank you.
Larry, you've done a great job as usual.
Thank you.
And I like the idea of the education with the signs. Very good. Any other questions? Are there any conditions?
No, there's a note here that the motion is updated to reference the revised plans.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Please call the roll.
Motion was made by Commissioner Dorban, seconded by Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Dorban?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Fado, I vote yes. Commissioner Schaaf?
Yes.
Commissioner Stylen?
Yes.
Commissioner Burns?
Yes.
And Chairman Maloney?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. You'll have a piece of paper to sign, Larry, on your way out.
There we go.
Sorry? On Redwood. Yes. Yeah, we used to, when I was walking. My kids used to go there.
Okay, calling docket number 2012-7, A and B, Athletic Barn, 761 Glen Avenue. 20127A is text amendment to Title 19 zoning regarding sports and recreation facility indoor. And 2012-7B is special use approval for an indoor sports and recreation facility in the I-3 district. Mr. Afato.
Tom Barnard, owner of the Athletic Barn LLC. Tenant is seeking the following for a property at 761 Glen Avenue. Text amendment to Title 19 zoning of the Wheeling Municipal Code to add sports and recreation facility indoors, a special use in the I-3 General Industrial District under Appendix A, use table, and to modify Section 19-11.010E relating to minimum parking required per use and category, and special use site plan approval is required under Chapter 19-07 Industrial Districts, Section 19.07.040 I-3 General Industrial District, Chapter 19-10 Use Regulations, in Chapter 19-12 Site Plan Approval Requirements and associated sections to establish an indoor sports and recreation facility in the I-3 General Industrial District.
That's it?
Nope, of course not. Standards for a special use. A zoning special use is defined in Title 19 of the Village of Wheeling zoning is a use of a parcel of land that requires review and consideration before approval due to circumstances or effects on its surrounding properties that may adversely affect them. In order to be considered for a special use, petitioner is required to demonstrate through testimony to the Plan Commission at the public hearing why their request meets conditions of the village code, including but not limited to how the proposed use will not damage the enjoyment or use of the surrounding properties. Prior to the public hearing, the petitioner provides written statements meant to show that the request for a special use meets the standards established in Title 19. The Plan Commission chairperson will typically direct that these statements be entered into the record without a full reading of them at the hearing. Based upon the testimony and supporting materials submitted, the Plan Commission will make findings in support of or against the petitioner's testimony and report those findings to the village board.
Jennings, do you have anything to add?
Just as a note on the staff report, there were a couple of mentions in there of the staff review of this. The village staff has been looking at something somewhat similar to the text amendments that the petitioner is proposing. So there were several references in there to that. The ongoing Title 19 review by staff does not include this, and I had made several references to it. So that was the intent of those notes in the staff report. So if there are any questions about that, I'd be happy to answer if it's more appropriate for the staff rather than petitioner.
Thank you. This is a public hearing, so I have to swear you in. Do you swear everything you're about to tell us is the truth?
Yes, sir.
And would you, speaking at the microphone, give your name and business address, please?
My name is Tom Barnard. My existing business address, 1920 Carboy, Mount Prospect, Illinois.
Very good. Is anyone else going to speak on your behalf?
No, sir.
Okay. You may proceed.
First of all, I commend Larry. That was a great presentation. Hard to follow. But, you know, I have owned the Athletic Barn now for 6 years. I was in professional baseball for a long time. And one reason we're moving out of Mount Prospect is we'd like to relocate. We really have found the building that we have found really conducive to what we're doing. And in this presentation of what we do is we're a training facility for young men and young women that want to pursue maybe beyond the high school level. Our age groups range from 8 years old all the way up to college. We do have some professional players working out with us, and we feel that it's a great opportunity to bring this business into Wheeling and maybe even counteract with the Park District. Local teams using our facility, which they use our existing facility now. And I think the big question has to do with the parking. We really are stern about we never have more than 30 people in our facility. And that also has to do with insurance reasons and so forth. And our business hours really don't coexist with the normal 8 to 5. We're kind of second shift. our business usually starts after school and goes through the evening. We usually close down around 9 o'clock. So in that parking facility, I don't think that we would interrupt the existing businesses that are there now because, again, in our little investigation, they usually leave that facility around 4 o'clock. So I know that the existing parking was some numerous number, and I don't think we need that many. 10 to 13 parking spaces would be more than sufficient of what we do. We really enjoy it. Our business is really in good nature with what we do, and financially we feel that this building is very suitable to what we can do, and we're just hoping that you allow us to come.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience from the public who wishes to speak? You're the only public. Okay. And with that, since there is no one, I'm going to close this portion of the public hearing and start with Commissioner Raffato.
Thank you. You mentioned your hours. Is that 7 days a week?
On the weekends, we're more day. We would start, like on Sundays, we would start 8 in the morning and end about 3.
Okay.
The weekdays, we would do, late afternoon, early evening.
And what about summers?
Summers, we basically have teams. So periodically, it would still be kind of late afternoon during the week because our teams play in the evening. So we would have them come in and practice before the games in early evening. We might run small clinics during the day with anywhere from 10 to 15 kids for an hour, but that would be periodically throughout the summer.
Okay. Andrew, the one question I had about the text amendment and changing the parking, what impact does that have? Would that then just be specific to this type of use?
Any other type of use that is similarly classified. So I think we had back in April a discussion about the varying needs of educational facilities. The sports and recreation parking requirement follows a similar pattern right now. So both of them have these flat square footage based requirements, but educational facilities have varying densities. They have varying intensity of use. Sports and recreation, we believe, is the same. You can have a sports and recreation place that's set up to handle small groups. You could have one that's set up to handle a large crowd observing competition. So you want to make it a occupant-based requirement and not just a square footage-based requirement. So for some businesses, the requirement was going to be below, the existing code requirement is below what they actually need. For some businesses, it's above. And we believe that this proposal brings both of those back to an occupant-based. I hope that is more is along what you're looking for.
If I'm not mistaken, in my time on here, we approved another facility very, very similar to this.
Yes.
I mean, exactly the same.
Yes.
Were they they must have been in a different district?
I believe it depends on which one you're referring to. We've had a few in the I-2. We had a extremely similar facility that I think was I-3 that was probably 2002, 2003.
Right.
The zoning code changed in 2005, and the use classification got grouped with the I-2. It ended up being grouped differently in 2005. So this is something that has been allowed in the I-3 in the past, and staff had no issues putting it back in.
Okay. I think that was it. No, it's pretty low usage. I mean, it's not intense usage. And okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you. Do you foresee the back door being your main entrance because of the parking situation there? There's only 8 spots in front of that building that you're sharing
Yes.
with other tenants?
We would probably prefer them coming through the back door, not only, I think, for convenience, but also for safety, to where they're aware, because of kids. We don't want any kids, running out in the street or anything of that sort.
Do you know if the nearby tenants, the neighboring tenants, if there are any, are they very active back there as far as trucks or anything?
Now, with my familiarity of going back there, no one's back there. I mean, the whole parking lot was empty except for the far end towards the main road. So that's why we had the idea of using the back entrance as the main entrance.
Is it well lit back there?
Yes.
Okay.
And then in our existing building that it wasn't well lit, and we just added lights. But that, when we've gone back there at night, and I don't know if they have all the lights on, but it was lit well enough for our usage, I believe.
Is this location bigger than what you're currently
A little
in?
smaller.
A little smaller?
But it's elongated. We do a lot of speed acceleration, so kids do a lot of running. So we were really excited about it, the length of the building. Where ours building right now is more of a box, where this is rectangular.
To me, it's hard to visualize it. It seems like it would be very small area for what you're proposing here, but I'll, I guess you're the professional. So.
Well,
Semi-pro anyway.
Semi-pro.
Yeah, but, just the way the building's formulated and the way we work the kids and the way we're setting up the cages and everything that we use in our building is portable. So we'll take the 4 cages and we can just have a 10-year-old and he can drag them all the way to the wall, and we have hooks, and then that opens the whole building. So the only thing that won't be portable is we have a little section with weights, and that'll be permanent. Everything other than that will be all movable.
Is that existing truck dock door, is that a sunken dock?
It's a sunken dock, and in talking to the owners, they have given us permission to fill it. And we'll fill it with dirt and sand so that when we move out, we'll bring in the contractor just to take all the dirt out. And we've done that before. We've done that in our existing building. Okay. It's worked out great. Then we put a piece of turf over it.
All right, that's all the questions I had. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Burns.
Thanks. On that last thing you mentioned, should go without saying, but I'm going to say, before you fill in that sunken driveway, not only do you need the permission of the building owner, but you're going to need permits from the village to make sure that it's according to code.
Yes, sir.
I'm sure you did that in your last place, but we have had petitioners come through here that start improving projects and don't realize that, oh, I need a permit, really? So, Andrew, to maybe go over some parking questions that Commissioner Fratto already did. If I understood you correctly, right now, there's going to be, you expect no more than 30 people in the space, or 30 kids and staff?
No more than, the staff, there would only be 4 staff at most. So with the 4 staff, it would be 26 total kids.
26
really,
kids, okay, so you're going to keep the occupancy 30 or less?
Correct.
And Andrew, the staff has determined that the parking variation that they're requesting is sufficient for that occupancy. My question is, if we approve this tonight, and in the future the business model changes, and maybe soccer is the new thing, maybe a new occupant comes in and says, I like this sports and recreation spot here in Wheeling, and the baseball guys have moved out, and I want to have a soccer camp in there, and suddenly the numbers are bigger than 30. Maybe he's having, it's a big enough space to actually have indoor soccer, and adults are coming and they're all driving. Do we have a problem, or can we put a condition on that, or?
You would have a problem to the extent that the special use legislation will limit it. The special use legislation typically includes a reference to a description of the proposal, and the description of the proposal has a maximum occupancy on it, or if there's a condition of approval that limits the occupancy, it would typically be considered a major amendment to a special use to increase the occupancy. If the parking situation at the building remains the same, you're not going to have a real problem in availability of parking, but you may have a paper problem in the sense that you'd have to process a variation at that point. So if the occupancy increases beyond what this particular business anticipates right now, in all likelihood, the occupant would need to seek some sort of variation.
Okay.
Would we be better protected to have a condition that the occupancy should not exceed 30?
I believe the way it's worded right now, it would limit this business to an occupancy of that number.
What if it changes a total business, though?
Like any other, like a restaurant, for example, they would have to come back.
It would expire. If it ceases to be this kind of a use, then it would expire?
It does not expire. Anybody if this business decides to double in size and needs to find a new location, and some future business, the soccer example, comes in and wants to take over the special use, they can do that subject to the terms of that special use. One of them being hours, the other being the occupancy. So
Can we make a condition that it expires?
You can. In this case, I don't know that you necessarily need that protection because you've got, if it's already limited in the occupancy, I don't know that you need to make it more difficult to re-rent the unit. Just my thought on it. I don't know that you necessarily need to add that extra layer of protection because something so similar would probably be found to be appropriate.
Sorry, Mike.
No, that's fine. Forgive my confusion. I was at a basketball tournament this winter in an industrial park up in Lake County. Very successful. They've turned this industrial occupancy in a building just like this into 2 basketball courts, and they have all-day tournaments. Very successful, though one bugaboo, man, the parking and traffic nightmare. It was unbelievable. I mean, if you could imagine, there between the 2 courts, you got 4 basketball teams with 10 and 12 kids on the roster, and every hour, 4 more teams want to play that next game. They needed like traffic cops out there. So that concerns me, that we would, with the special use, we're limiting it to this baseball training facility as described.
Right.
Okay. Those are my comments and questions.
Commissioner Schaaf.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. From what I can see in visiting out there, I think you have enough parking. It really doesn't concern me, especially if you're going to use the back. There's only 1 car in that general vicinity, although I did not have a chance to see the hours of operation of your neighboring tenants. I don't know if that would conflict or not. I do have a problem with you saying, you're not going to conflict with your neighboring tenants, and when you go June to August, and you go 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., those are business hours. So
Those hours would be on the weekend, though, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. on the weekend.
That's not what you said here. You said June through August, the hours are going to be 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Those are only weekend hours?
Those are weekend hours, and then during the week, periodically, we might have existing clinics and stuff that might interfere with some of the businesses. But again, to develop the kids in what we do, we'll never have more than 30 kids because our programs we can't exceed more than 30 kids. We're not going to get what we need to get done. But yes, during the summer, there will be some times where we might have an infield clinic with 10-year-olds, and we might have 15 10-year-olds come in between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m. You know, but it won't be a constant every day. No.
Okay.
I apologize about that.
Yeah, I would still like to have that clarified, but it just seems like there is a conflict. The other thing was the ratio of your employees or instructors or whoever you've got, you know, as employees to your client. You know, when you say 30 clients and 3 employees, that's a 10-to-1 ratio.
Correct.
And it seems to be a training facility, what I would think should be a little bit less, or should be, I don't know if it's less or more, but it should be 1 to 4, 1 to 5, or even 1-on-1 in some cases. I don't know if you do that. It just seems like the number of employees doesn't fit the number of clients that you're going to have in a training facility.
Let me explain, and this would help. In spring training, and that's how we kind of, well, it's not kind of, it's how we do our facility. There's a hit instructor to every team, and every team has a 35-man roster, 10 pitchers, and the rest are position players. And we work the kids out periodically. So when we have 3 employees, there's one employee in one cage, me in another cage, and another employee in another cage, and then we have workouts in between. So when a young man is hitting with one, 2 other young men are working out on their center core. And then in the other cage, the same thing. Because in baseball, my belief, and I think, well, I really feel that the reason we're successful is a young man can't hit for an hour straight, especially an 8-year-old. I mean, you'll wear them out. Sure. So we like to hit in groups. And that's why we have the 1 to 10 ratio, because that is a group. And we have T stations and in the cage to where the young man can come in and take 10 swings, then take a little break and come back and take 10 swings again. And we try to emulate our workouts to baseball, because a young man doesn't go up and take 50 swings at one at bat. He might only take 1. So we try to emulate to where that mind takes that little break and then comes back in and takes it again. And again, you know, we do have 1 to 5. We're not packed all year round, but when a group is full, it's probably a 1 to 10 ratio. And, you know, knock on wood, you know, that scheme or plan has worked for the last 5 years to where our business is very successful. And we run it, and the people understand it. We run it very similar to spring training. You know, like I say, there's 176 position players in spring training, and there's 5 instructors. 1 instructor for every team in the minor leagues, and then the head hitting coordinator. And they all work these guys out in 4 cages, and it's a rotation. And that's how we simulate.
Yeah, but you're talking apples and oranges, too. You're talking about young men who have been involved in baseball for a while. Mm-hmm. And they're conditioned athletes. You're talking 8, 10, 12-year-old kids who are not conditioned athletes, and you have to train them to get that way.
Correct. And we structure it and have the workouts to where, you know, like if we have a group of 11-year-olds, and when they come in to work out, they know exactly where to go, because we've trained them to where this is how we work out. And I've done the 11-year-olds, you know, by myself, to where we have station and groups where the kids understand.
Okay, and as they go station to station to station.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
It's just a little misleading when there's a 1 to 10 ratio, which I think was a little extended.
And I totally understand that. Yeah. And you know, because when we get new clients, we do have to explain it. And also, too, we try to keep it, very economical to the times. We
Sure.
charge a little less because of that group atmosphere to where we get, all trends of people to come in, because we do want to keep it economical.
Okay, like I said, I don't have, overall, I like the concept. I like the idea of training facility, even in an industrial, it's zoned industrial, and I don't have a problem with where you're going. I do have a little bit of a concern of your layout. There's no place where cleanup is for your facility is stored. Where's that? Where are you going to keep? You're going to have to police the area. You have to clean it up.
Correct.
Okay, so that's going to be stored where?
We have plenty of office space. We don't need really the office space, so that
So
would be
part of that office space is going to be for,
the cleaning buckets, the utility stuff that we
that you use to clean up?
Yes.
Okay. The other thing that I see, and I would like to have that defined.
Sure.
In there. The other thing I don't see is there's no, like a locker room where your clients could actually change. I don't know if they do or not, but a lot of times when you're working out with weights and everything, there is a need to have a place where you can cool down and maybe even take a shower. I don't know if you provide that type of thing or if they understand that they have to go home for that.
Our clients understand they have to go home for that because we don't.
Yeah, you don't have that.
We're in an industrial park now.
Right. You don't have any type of a locker room area.
No.
Okay.
Our clients understand that they have to come in their gym clothes, and when we're done working them out,
they're going to go.
They're going to go home.
Okay. I would like to see that office space, though, redefined as and I didn't know what, you've got a vestibule up there that's 6 by 9 next to the women's restroom?
Correct.
Is that where you're going to store stuff? Or
we would probably store our cleaning supplies in the office that's 11 by 13.
Oh, okay.
Because it's a little more convenient, bigger, to where we have more space to where we're not jamming things in there.
Okay, so that's going to be an office/storage.
Correct.
Okay, for all the rest of the
The
stuff.
vestibule right now, we really haven't even thought of a use for it yet. Just because of the enormous office space that we do have.
Yeah.
Well, that's your entrance, right?
Pardon me?
That's your front entrance. That's your front entrance.
Correct.
Right. So
Right.
That's a good thing to
Yeah.
use it for. Yeah.
Vestibule.
Yeah, vestibule.
that is the front entrance.
Correct.
Okay,
That's what
into
you
that.
go through. And, I
Okay.
mean, we don't want to put off our cleaning supplies in there because
Sure.
people are going to, we don't want them to see that.
Right. And I noticed that you have walking and watching areas throughout the building, which is good.
Correct.
And you do need some space, especially during the wintertime, for parents that either drop their kids off or pick them up or whatever, especially the younger ones.
Correct. Correct.
So they're
And
gonna
that's,
need
the general office, the 20, we would have chairs and so forth. Most of our parents do, because our clientele is, very loyal to us. It is a drop-off type pickup.
Because then that would just add to your parking, because if there's going to be,
Correct.
more, and a 3-to-1 ratio is you're looking at carpooling, and that usually doesn't happen.
Again, one benefit that I could say to the community is the restaurants, Local tavern, we have a lot of people that drop the kids off because of the dinner hour. They'll go out, come back and pick the kid up. Very rarely do the parents stay and watch. The one thing that we do recommend is if it's a new client, we want the parents to stay and watch for the first time.
I can understand.
Yes.
Sure.
Because we want them to have a comfort level with us.
Overall, I like the concept. There was just some.
Oh, and those are important concerns.
Yeah.
I'm learning from you too, so. But this building here is very similar to the one we're in now. But again, like I say, the elongation of it is what really excites us because of what we do with the kids in the baseball training.
Mr. Chairman, those are my questions and comments.
Thank you. Commissioner Stylen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have any problems with the change in the parking computation. I do have a problem, though, at least in theory, with putting children of 8 years of age into an I-3 industrial area. Now, from what I understand, allowing that as a special use means that it is an accepted use, but we have the option to create conditions to mitigate any, I don't want to say undesirable, but to mitigate any odd characteristics and maybe put additional conditions on. Is that correct, Andrew?
That's correct.
So, I have a problem with the 8 years of age children in an industrial area, especially this particular building. Now, if you could say that all the children 8 years of age will be dropped off at the front door, where I think, that's obviously the safest area. I don't think there'd be any heavy industrial type traffic in that front parking area. But if the children are going to get dropped off in the back rear area, then I think you're getting children very close to industrial, heavy industrial type traffic. When I was there, I think there were 4 of the loading dock doors open, and there were 2 vans and 2 panel trucks doing something back there.
Can I interrupt for a second?
Sure.
Who's going to park back there? The 8-year-olds aren't.
No, the parents would.
Are they going to, but you say they don't stay?
Majority don't stay. I would never say all. I mean, that's not true.
So if there's an 8-year-old back there, he's going to be with his parents?
Correct.
That's all.
Or,
question.
a parent with a carpool. Because, again, if we have 3 8-year-olds that are all neighbors, they're all going to take turns driving. And then the parents usually, walk the young man in. We say hello, greet him at the door.
If the parents aren't going to stay and they're going to drop the kids off, they can drop them off at the front door, right?
If they would like, yeah. We would definitely leave that of an option for them for sure.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, and that's the kind of condition that I would really like to see, right? That there's some age range that I don't think children should be out in the I'll just call it, and it isn't the parking lot of an industrial area, it's the main drive and usage of the industrial area. So, I'd like to see some conditions placed on what ages of children should be dropped off at the front door, and then, maybe teenagers that can drive and stuff like that, and
no problem with that.
They're going to park in the back. That's fine. They should be wise enough to avoid trucks and stuff like that. So
usually our younger kids are the earlier groups too, so I don't think that would be a problem in dictating that.
Yeah, because, I don't think that, obviously, we can regulate some of the things that you do, but we can't regulate the truck traffic that the other businesses in that facility do. So today it may be light, maybe during the winter it's very heavy. We just don't know. So again, I think if we can work out the appropriate conditions, Mr. Chairman, I would go along with it, but I think that for every one of these kinds of uses, and Jim, I think the last one of the uses that we had was more of a professional training for people in the baseball industry that were already pro or semi-pro athletes. So, I mean, they were a lot older than 8 years of age, I believe.
I remember the baseball one, and I thought, again, it was all ages, but the one we just recently approved, the one on Hintz Road, it wasn't baseball, it was...
High school mostly.
High school?
Referring to
general
sports.
Yeah, it was general sports and conditioning.
It was mostly high school.
That's right, it was because, okay, right, okay.
So, and I think that this particular business, it's right on the corner of Hintz Road. While it is an industrial area, it's the first building really into the industrial complex, if you will. So I think that from, opening this up as a special use, as long as we provide the appropriate conditions and restrictions to protect the children, I'd be all for it. And that's my only concern, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Commissioner Durband.
Thank you. I like the concept. I think it's a great concept. I'm a little concerned because when I was back there, it didn't appear that it's lit. It doesn't appear to be well lighted. And we have a lot of awfully dark times of the year. And the other thing was I was looking at the issue, as Terry brought up, about younger children. I personally would never allow my 7-year-old granddaughter to go into a facility like that without being escorted in. Perfect example, today I took her to her swim team meeting. It's Wheeling High School. Obviously it's a school, it appears to be safe, but I'm walking her in there and I'm sitting there watching her the whole time. I had to leave, my husband stayed. I would like to see some kind of a condition that says that children 12 and under will be escorted into and out of the facility.
Totally understandable.
Exactly.
I would write that in the rules.
That's how it's written right now.
So I'm a little, the lighting in the back there bothers me. I mean, conceivably, you're going to have moms dropping these children off, so I'm a little concerned about that. I don't know what provisions you can make for that to have it better lit. That just makes me a little edgy. Are there special programs going to be handled there where people would be watching, and sitting around watching? I mean, that we should kind of think about allocating more parking?
Like in the baseball world, they call them showcases. We don't have that, just because of the space. One reason we identified 30 people is because when people come in and watch us, we want to make sure they see that their son is working out, is active for the whole hour. And the reason we put that limitation of people on it is because that makes us, better instructors. When you walk in and you see 10 kids in the cages, 5 kids pitching, 5 young men lifting weights, and it's all active, people are going, wow, they really do get after it. We kind of use the term grinder. So we're not into the showcase atmosphere or events. It's just basically we're working kids out.
I guess my only thought was that it seems to me more and more parents are watching their children, what they're doing while they're training or working out. And I was thinking maybe we could add 4 more or even 10 more parking spaces just to be on the safe side, especially for carryover time, that kind of thing. The other thing that concerned me, are you going to have some kind of a buzzer system, because you do have a front door and a back door and your coaches are going to be all busy? How are you going to be able to make sure that if everybody's in the back and the door opens in front, how are you going to be?
Well, during our business hours, we'll have like, we call them hardships. In other words, a young man that works out with us, but maybe the family economically can't afford it. So we hire young men to come and work just in that aspect, or clean, to where that's how they pay to work out at our facility. So we'll always have someone in front, and then in the back, because the building is elongated and it is open, we'll always see someone come in the back. But we'll have a young man in front just to make sure that, someone just doesn't wander in. I'm very aware of it.
Of the younger ones especially, somebody could wander in. I would like to see some kind of a buzzer system so that somebody's coming in and out those doors. The fire department made some recommendations. Have you reviewed those?
Me personally, no, because I just got them.
Okay.
So I can, I'll do that ASAP.
Okay, I guess those are my only questions. I just a little concerned about safety, especially in the industrial area, and having some kind of safeguard with something for those doors, and something with the lighting, and something for the children going in and out. I'm a little uncomfortable with that. So.
Thank you. I'd like to see some lighting at that door. I don't see any lights there. Where are the lights? Are they in the back of the parking lot shining towards the building? I don't see anything attached to the building.
There was none attached to the building, but I went there early evening and there was some lights on very similar to what we have. And if it's a necessity to where we have to add a light, I would definitely talk to the owner and see if we could possibly do that.
I'd like to see that back door lit. And I do agree that there should be a buzzer on there, that if someone opens it, that a buzzer goes off so someone knows someone's coming there. I'd like to see that, if someone's going to be dropped off, they get dropped off at the front door.
Okay.
And I'd even like to see everyone dropped off at the front door, and if a parent's going to park, they then go around back and then they come in the back door.
Whatever rules that you would like to set, we will set. Believe me, I don't want anything to happen to the kids either. Because that's my main concern. In all aspects of safety, working kids out, and I knock on wood, for 6 years we've had no injuries or no mishaps.
Okay, any other questions before we fool around with these conditions?
Well, I think we ought to talk about the conditions of the hours.
Yeah. Okay, one more. Is there anyone else? I'm going to close the public hearing. Could I have a please vote or motion to close the public part of the hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that's done. All right, go ahead, Pam.
There's no signage?
No.
No signage. Okay.
Are you asking me if we're going to have a sign?
Right.
Yeah.
No.
You're not going to have anything over that door?
No.
How are they going to know what door to come in?
Our clients they'll know. We're a business, I would say, under the radar. We have a very strong clientele.
Do you use your radar gun?
Yes, we do. But we have a strong clientele to where, signage, and we don't have signage. We might have a little poster that says Athletic Barn, but in the overhang of that brick, it probably won't be that visible. But our clients will know where it is, and like I say, in setting these rules, if it's a necessity that we go through the front door, we will. and use that area as a drop-off just because of the lack of all the, there's not much parking in front. So,
Pam, you wanted to talk about hours or something?
Well, I noticed that in the staff report, that the hours are different compared to what Athletic Barn actually is saying. So I think we need to clarify what's there. They're saying that, I just want to get to it, that January through May, it's 2 o'clock to 10 o'clock. And then June to August is 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. But it doesn't say on the weekends, so I think we need to clarify that.
and that, I apologize about that.
I just
But
want to
there
make sure
still will be some uses during the summer during the 8 to 5 hours. Won't be every day, but we'll have small clinics and so forth
during the week. You're saying?
during the week in the
Okay.
summer.
I don't know how we write that, Andrew. Can you help us with that?
So the typical hours of operation for non-summer, what's the maximum range for the non-summer time?
We said 2 o'clock because the employees come in at 2 o'clock, but right after school. Some schools get out at 2:50, some get out at 3:20.
So 2 o'clock to
2 to
when?
10.
Till the latest would be 10.
And I would imagine that spring break and things like that, and you're going to be open?
Spring break, yes, we would be open.
And
And again,
winter
that
as
would be
well?
the clinic format. Usually during spring break, though, because of our clinics have grown, we'll rent Hershey out, the field house.
But don't overtalk it, please.
Oh,
So
sorry.
it's going to be 2 to 10 on
During
normal school days. During summers and vacations, the hours will be
2 to 10 again, and then some clinics during the morning.
weekends, all during the year. The hours will be
8 o'clock till 6 o'clock.
Let Andrew write and we'll see what we get.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
may I ask a couple questions while we're waiting?
Sure.
Do your clients have to sign in? I mean, how do you keep track of who owes you money?
Well, our clients sign up through email, through the young man that runs my business. So when, the day starts, we know who's coming in.
So they're basically by appointment then?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. We very rarely will have a walk-in. If we do, it's one of our clients bringing someone new. We have a interview process for every new client. It's not, like you come in and use a machine. This is a workout facility. So when we have a new client, we go through an interview, we describe our programs, we show them what they do. They observe a workout, and then they sign up for what we call sessions. We have monthly sessions in infield pitching, hitting, and speed acceleration. So it's basically done by appointment, not
Okay.
just walk in.
I have a question, probably Mr. Burns may be able to answer it. Do you have a roster of people, in case something happens, you know who's there or who's supposed to be there?
Correct.
Is that a requirement?
Is that a fire
In
department?
case of
or something?
fire
No.
or something happening, is there any requirement that you have a roster and someone musters somewhere and make sure all the kids are safe?
No. Certainly when there's a fire alarm or a fire, the fire department tries to get a hold of somebody from the business or businesses to verify that everybody is out and accounted for, but they don't have to have a roster of everybody that should be in the building at any given
Okay.
time.
I know a lot of private companies have that. That's why they have the
Yeah.
guest book when you sign in.
It's a very good part of an emergency plan, absolutely.
Yeah. That was a question I had.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
can I just make another comment?
Sure.
You know, this particular unit is right smack dab in the middle, I think, of this building. And, you know, you're going to be using the middle loading dock basically when there's, I don't know, how many, 4 or 5 on each side of you or so?
I believe, now on the dock, I believe you're correct. But I think because we looked at the building next to us, which was 12,000 square feet. So I think it's the 12,000 and then it's us. So I think we're, you know, second to last. But I think, I believe you are correct that I think the building next to us, which is vacant but has 2 docks, and then we would be the third dock kind of in the middle. So
Yeah,
yes,
I mean,
I do.
You know,
We won't use the dock, though. The dock will always be, unless it's, you know, a 90-degree day and we open the dock just to get some air.
But the people will be using my guess, the entrance door that's right
Correct.
adjacent to
Yes,
the
correct.
dock, because that'll be a lot easier than trying to use the front door.
Correct.
You know, and I think it's just unfortunate about the design of this building that there is literally no parking in the front.
In front,
I mean,
yeah. Believe me, when we were looking at it, it was our concern because of the concerns that you've brought up.
You know, I'd feel a lot more comfortable if your unit were one of the end units away from all the industrial
Correct.
stuff, ongoings,
Right.
whatever. You know, and I'm still just a little bit worried that, you know, I think the conditions would be a lot less if you were on the end of the building, and I'm not comfortable that we've put enough conditions, because what I think the hours of operation are going to be is 8:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. during the summer, and
I mean, if the conditions are to where we have to tell our clientele to drop off and then park and back, you know, I'm going to abide to what you want us to do.
Can we hear what the conditions are at this point?
So far, what I've drafted is, number 1, the maximum occupancy shall be 30 clients and 30 employees at a given time.
Pardon me?
No.
That the
Oh,
maximum
30 clients and
occupancy-
employees. Not 30 plus 30.
Total
right?
of 30, including,
This was the one from the staff report. So it was written based on the maximum parking on the.
read it again.
That the maximum occupancy shall be 30 clients and 3 employees at any given
3,
time.
okay, you said 30 earlier.
Yeah.
Okay.
You had 60 people in there.
But, Mr.
Number 2, that the rear door shall be identified as the entrance from the rear parking area, including a sign notifying motorists to watch for children. Number 3, that the business owner inform clients that children aged 12 and older must be escorted to and from the rear entrance. Number 4, the petitioner work with the property owner to add lighting near the rear door. Number 5, that the maximum hours of operation shall be limited to 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. weekdays, with daytime clinics also allowed on non-school days, and weekends year-round from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And the last condition, the small office shall be used for storage of cleaning supplies, etc.
Yeah, what about some kind of a buzzer system?
Activated buzzer system on the back door when it's opened.
Well, back and front.
Pardon?
Back and front.
Yeah, because they're usually going to
That's
be
right,
in the
there's
back.
only a couple people there.
But by buzzer, you're referring to,
When you open it, it goes bzzz,
Yeah.
but not,
not where they have to
A
press
lock.
it to let them in.
okay.
A warning buzzer, alarm buzzer, whatever.
That the front and rear doors be equipped with a,
Notification buzzer, how's
There
that?
you go. Good word.
I like that.
And when you get done, would you read me the hours again?
I'd like number 3 read again too, please.
Pardon?
I'd like condition number 3 read again as well.
I'm sorry, I didn't,
Condition number 3, I got lost. I'd like to hear it read again.
okay, the hours, the condition relating to hours, maximum hours of operation shall be limited to 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. weekdays, with daytime clinics also allowed on non-school days, and weekends year-round from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m.
What was number 3, Andrew? Please read it again.
That the business inform clients that children age 12 and under must be escorted to and from the rear entrance. And then I have in parentheses, no rear drop-offs.
Read the hours again. I'm still confused on what you said.
So weekdays,
Weekdays,
2 p.m. to 10 p.m.
2 to 10.
Daytime clinics also allowed non-school days.
Okay.
Which would be 8 a.m. to whatever?
Yeah,
8 to 10.
10, right.
All right. And weekends?
Weekends year-round,
8 to 2. Or
8 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Okay, so during the school year, it's 2 to 10. During non-school times, it's 8 to 10, and weekdays, it's 8 to 6 p.m. Is that correct? Pardon?
And weekends.
And weekends are 8 to 6 p.m.
Correct.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like
Yes,
to
sir.
discuss a couple of the conditions that I'm not comfortable with or clear on, maybe. Number 3, informing the clients to escort their children from the car to the rear door. Talk about things that should go without saying, but is complying with that condition simply that the petitioner will put in the package of information he gives to his customers, children should be escorted from the car to the rear door? Is that sufficient to?
Children shall be.
Could also be done with a sign.
Could also put a sign on the door, because
Sign
that's
on
what
the
we
door
do in
itself.
our place now.
Please,
Signage on the door.
please escort your children from the car to the door. Okay, I guess if that satisfies the condition, that's a good idea.
On the door.
And then condition 6, that cleaning supplies be kept in small office A. I think we're getting into some nitty-gritty here. I think the petitioner will figure out where he's going to store his cleaning supplies, and I'm not comfortable telling him that we want to see this section of this office designated as cleaning supply storage, and if I'm the only commissioner that feels that way, I guess that condition will pass, but that's my thoughts on that.
I agree with Commissioner Burns. This isn't, I think the last time we did this, it was because it was a daycare center.
Yes.
And this is not where somebody's going to be regularly going. So I would agree with Commissioner Burns. I mean, we're just putting conditions in that we're worried about his marketing or his business plan, and I don't think we have to worry about those things. I mean, we're talking about a text amendment and a special use for a facility that you know, he's got a business plan in place, and I don't think we have to go into that much detail.
But Jim, he did, you know, on the site plan, it does designate those 3 areas as an office use. If he's going to designate one of those areas as a storage use, couldn't we just scratch out the plan and just write in storage and be done with it?
But again, why limit that? Because you can put cleaning supplies in a cabinet in that office, and it could still be an office. I think sometimes we just go a little bit overboard in what we're trying to do here.
Guy's going to have cleaning supplies anywhere.
Right.
Anyway, rather.
And we're going down.
All right, what condition is that?
Well, but I would take a poll because
That's what I'm going to do.
How
Ask
about cleaning supplies will be appropriately or appropriately stored, and let it go?
now that
There you go.
there you go.
All right, let's have, what condition is it?
I had already deleted it.
Excuse me.
Will be appropriately secured.
Everyone agree with that?
No.
Okay, what?
I don't think it's a job of the planning commission to put on the record that this business owner will appropriately store their cleaning supplies.
I agree with you. That's the health department's problem.
And I don't think it hurts to put it there. It's not something that, it's not hurting anybody. And if, I think.
No, but it encourages us to get into real nitty-gritty stuff that we really don't need to be into.
Well, I don't know that, I think safety of children is important.
That-
That's all I'm saying.
And not only that, I mean, in a way, I kind of agree with both of you, but I just think that the site plan ought to be representative of what the areas are going to be used for. If one of these general office areas is going to be used as a waiting room, you know, I'd rather see it labeled as a waiting room than a general office area, you know. And I just think, you know, the fire department would probably be more in tune with knowing where the areas of the building are designated as they're going to be used.
There are hazardous materials laws that dictate that the fire department be notified where storage of flammable liquids and gases and compressed gases are. But I don't know of any of those laws or ordinances that would require any business owner to tell us where his Mr. Clean is, or his Lysol, or his mop and his bucket. And when a business owner moves into an occupancy, sometimes all those things aren't, you know, worked out to that kind of detail. And he might say, boy, here's an area, a corner of the warehouse where I can put the shelves or the cabinet where I want to store the cleaning supplies and the mop and the bucket.
I personally don't care where they store them. I'm just saying that they should be appropriately secured.
All right.
That's all.
I would go with that because it really says nothing.
But,
doesn't
well,
tie the guy
no,
down.
but it is though, we as a village have to be responsible for our citizens, and in this case, and there could be some village residents going there, for children, that they are appropriately stored.
So use the word appropriately stored, and then you're,
Appropriately secured.
because he may, you know, he's just moving in. He may want to move those walls are movable.
Correct.
And you may want to reconfigure that at any time. We don't want him coming back here because he changed the storage space from one office to another or something.
I would agree.
So where appropriate, I would go for.
Terry, your question on the general office, are you saying that you prefer to see that general office / waiting room?
No,
Is that what you're
I'm saying, all I'm saying is that if the business owner is planning on using that general office area as a waiting room or as a gym room or as a training room or whatever its designation is, we probably ought to have that labeled accordingly rather than just general space, you know.
Andrew, is that an issue?
No, I'd be happy to write the condition however the commission sees fit. They got a office label. There's been no indication that it's going to be used for anything other than an office.
Right now, basically, it's just the walkthrough, because the one office space in the left would be the young man who runs my business's office. And then we would use the storage, and then the general office, you know, we'd probably put some posters up of Albert Pujols and make it a decor, but, you know, it would be chairs where if parents wanted to sit while they wait, or
Kids when they come in the
Yeah, if
winter
they're-
with their coats
yeah,
on
if
and
they're early.
stuff,
yeah,
dump it in
you know,
there.
we might have like hooks for the kids to hang their coats on while they wait. You know, most kids just throw them on the ground, you know. We have a collection of coats, so, but, you know, right now, you know, we just have that one office space, and again, on Mr. Maloney's comment, you know, maybe we would knock down a wall if needed, because the owner said that would be a possibility.
So where are we, Andrew?
We hear a motion motion?
How did he reword it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to hear
Cleaning
the
supplies
conditions.
shall be appropriately and securely stored.
Okay, that sounds good. All right. So no other conditions change? No, okay.
I have a question now, regarding the back door, since if somebody's coming from the other side, from the further end.
Correct.
Finding your back door is still a challenge, you know, because they all look alike. And you say you're not going to have any signage, but
Well, we might put athletic barn on the
okay, yeah, I
some
think
sign.
something should be
Well,
there.
and again, if it's something to where we need the sign too to escort the children in, you know, we would also have
Well,
that.
Why don't you put a sign, athletic barn, and then what is the wording about the children?
The way that is,
Spot,
yeah,
just near the door.
the way that
Excuse me.
is, they would be able to meet that, those two conditions could be met by the same sign, the way it's worded. You know, right now, those two conditions say that the rear door shall be identified as the entrance from the rear parking area. The next condition is that the business shall install signage on the door informing clients that children age 12 and under must be escorted to and from the rear entrance. So
So you get the word athletic barn, rear entrance, and then the sign about the children all in one.
Excuse me,
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman. That back door is identified with the number of the building, 761.
Right.
Which is good for the fire department, but
It's not good for me. If I drop someone off at the front and I go around the back, I don't know what door I'm supposed to go in.
If the address is 761 Glen
I
Avenue.
remember that the address is 761. That's why you
He's-
want, you know, when you
but
go
the
to the
petitioner-
back door of a store to pick something up, they got to sign Macy's or the Gap or something like that. They don't say,
Some of the other units have their names on the door, I think would be.
Excuse me, but the petitioner has already stated that he doesn't intend to put any signage up, so it's an
telling him-
address-based
we're telling them to
business.
put it up on the
Yes.
back door, so they know where it is.
Does that mean he has to come through with signage?
no.
directional signage is considered exempt from the sign code. So this would fall under directional.
Yeah, just, if you're thinking anything different,
Correct.
call
We
Andrew.
have
Yes.
to add the condition about the, from the fire department memo. I just thought of that.
The fire department conditions can be handled during permitting. There was nothing in particular from their memo that they had an
It's
issue
just
with.
that they are talking about updates to, they're talking about the building has an existing automatic sprinkler system and modifications to the system may be required. Also, the building has existing fire alarm system and modifications to the system would be required.
They won't get an occupancy permit unless they,
Well, I'm
do
just
that.
asking, should we, is that part of the condition?
I called the fire department when we got the memo to confirm what that meant, and they said it was,
Okay, and then the first one about the fire separation? Is there any?
they had
Okay.
no, they said there was
I
no issue
just-
that should be a condition.
I just want to make sure everybody's singing out of the same hymnal here.
Okay.
That's all.
do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, please
This
call
is
the roll.
for A.
A.
This is
Yes,
for A,
This is for
Which
A,
has no-
text amendment.
the text amendment. Okay, motion was made by me, seconded by Commissioner Stylen. Commissioner Fado, vote yes. Commissioner Stylen?
Yes.
Commissioner Burns?
Yes.
Commissioner Dorban?
Yes?
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Scheff?
Yes.
And Chairman Maloney?
Yes. 20127B, special use approval.
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Motion was made by me and seconded by Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Fado, vote yes. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Scheff?
Yes.
Commissioner Stylen?
Yes.
Commissioner Burns?
Yes.
Commissioner Dorban?
Yes?
And Chairman Maloney?
Yes. We've closed everything.
When do you think you'll be open?
We need a motion to close the docket as a whole.
So
Motion
moved.
made, second?
Second.
Is there a second?
Yep. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
When do you think you'll be open?
Lots right there.
That was just procedural.
Okay.
Okay.
That was just procedural.
You know, I mean, the next meeting, I believe, is June 4th. We could open June 5th. with the business license if everything is okay.
Cool.
It's very simple. Our clientele are the ones that put up the cages and everything, and we'd like to get in there ASAP.
Good. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for
Appreciate
choosing
you guys'
Wheeling.
time. Thank you.
Thank you.
You've got to have
Thank you.
something to sign, and you're on your way.
Great.
Thank you.
you very much.
Welcome to Wheeling.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Brooke.
The lights blinking out or off? Or is it? Oh, is that what it is?
Oh, sorry.
Are you leaving? No, he's
Don't go
bringing
without
out
me.
his dog
Yeah.
and pony show.
Don't leave without us.
All right. Approval of the minutes of May 10th.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Abstain?
Yes.
One abstention. Other business, workshop discussion of Plan Commission policies and amendments to Title 19, zoning, and Title 21, signs of the village code. Mr. Jennings.
We have officially dropped 21 for right now. We had an idea of 2 workshops on this before the public hearing. This would be workshop number 2. We ended up with less time to devote to this than what we had expected for the second workshop. We still do intend to publish the public hearing for June 14th. We recognize, of course, that that probably increased the likelihood that we'll have to do a continuation. But if that's necessary, we're hoping that it's a 1-week continuation. As you may recall, what we were trying to do was a couple of workshops to break our usual pattern of having the zoning code amendments be continued over the course of a month or two. So by way of an update, I'll just run through where we were very briefly. I don't intend to spend much more than 5 to 10 minutes on this tonight. The hearing that we're publishing for is going to be June 14th. I'll, as I said, do a couple of updates from our April 19th meeting, and you can always go back and read the minutes for a full update on that. We do have some additional modifications I'll go over very briefly, and the policy discussion is much more bare bones than what we had originally intended for tonight. But I did want to give you just an overview of the document that's going to be coming your way. This is just the first few slides here go over. There were no questions on these first few. Number 3 had been removed during our last discussion. The only item on here that requires additional work from the April 19th set is number 6, the AP district setbacks. We need to just run this by the airport to make sure that they're okay with that. I don't anticipate an issue, and we certainly have plenty of time between now and April 14th to run this by them. On this, as I said, number 8, Title 21 is going to include the sign variation that's not part of the Title 19 discussion. There's no additional work done on 9 or 10, which would be the group home regulations or the donation boxes. So there were no major concerns with what had been drafted thus far. Number 11, not been fully fleshed out yet. The idea behind this would be a definition that's very limited. to be consistent with what we've reviewed so far. We had a potential business, as you may recall, a couple weeks ago, maybe 2 months ago now, that had a business concept for a much larger indoor automobile sales than what we previously reviewed. So I think the idea here is to go ahead and set the limit that's consistent with what we've seen, which is very small, 2 to 3 vehicles at a time, 5 maximum, that sort of thing. Outdoor dining, there was a suggestion during the last discussion that we look at some basic standards, walkway widths, that sort of thing. So we are going to write a short set of standards for that. The PUD process change, the only significant change that is going to be made is a requirement to do a workshop. Right now it's worded as strongly recommend. We're going to just go ahead and change that to required. Shopping center parking. I hope to have a pretty detailed analysis by the time of the hearing. The idea that we had previously mentioned was look at how the shared parking is currently worded. The reduction under the shared parking section of the code is large. It's a 40% reduction. When the village was doing its PUD on South Milwaukee Avenue, we had referenced the shared parking section as a comparison to the parking ratio that we proposed for our own PUD. I think it was the first time that we'd actually put that number up on the screen and talked about it, and the general reaction was that is a really large reduction, and a lot of different types of things could potentially fit under it. So I think the idea is before something uses that 40% reduction that we examine it a little more thoroughly. So that's what we plan on doing is spelling it out. I think the consensus, although we didn't get too into it, I think the consensus was just make it a variation if it's that big. It's so rare that there's no reason not to just look at it.
Andrew, when you do get to that item number 14, could you take a look at a couple locations in town, the Staples complex on Lake Cook Road, and just kind of take a look at their parking? I know that we granted them some additional space because of the big Target parking lot next door.
But Yogurtland has filled that end of that parking lot.
Yeah, that's what
night.
I mean. Maybe we should just take a look at that, because
it's place is doing incredible.
It's pretty.
But on the left side of the drive in front of Staples, it's empty.
Yeah.
But just take a look at that and use that as an example, and maybe the other spot down here on Milwaukee and Dundee, the
Fresh Farms?
Riverside
Plaza?
No,
Fresh Farms?
Well, no, he's too big. The
One Milwaukee place?
No, the new shopping center.
Fresh Farms.
Fresh Farms. Yes, I'm sorry.
How could you forget Fresh?
Wow, it's a senior moment,
Man.
And if there's any other places that there has been contention where we have reduced it, just use those as kind of examples.
And what I find interesting about that is because, Commissioner Johnson mentioned Yogurt Farm. Yogurtland.
Yogurt
Farm. Fresh Farms, Yogurt Farm.
Fresh Yogurt Farm.
How do we, in something like that, legislate? I guess we could legislate usage, because it's a fine line, because when we gave that variation to Staples, up until a couple of months ago, everything was fine.
No, but I mean, especially Yogurtland, I think they only had 2 inside seats or 3 inside seats.
Yeah, not much.
It was just a little.
That's true. Yeah.
That's actually.
You know what I mean? Just kind of take a retrospective.
Yeah, that's true.
But I've been by there a few times where they're lined up out the door.
I think the difference is between, you can't predict
Success.
But what you can predict, and the other side of that is under number 12, if there's a need to review the exemption for outdoor seats, maybe that's what we take a look at is, in the case of Yogurtland, is it the outdoor seats that are causing that, or is it success that's causing it? So I don't know if we're going to be able to determine that between now and June 14th, but the primary focus of this was to take a look at shopping centers, take a look at the shared parking reduction before somebody uses it, and just take a look at how the things that have been approved ultimately, what's the ratio in terms of square footage, what's the ratio by what the code says, and how much of a reduction is it really, has it really been awarded?
And aside, on that Staples parking lot with the bank, I complained about the do not enter sign that confused people. They put a nice small sign there with the do not enter to the right of the post. So when you come in, you can look at it and know that they mean do not enter into the bank.
Drive-through.
That is confusing there.
Yeah, Bill, they had that up about a week after you brought it up to me.
Yeah, it looks real nice.
We contacted them about that, actually, and got bounced around. Their property manager is not in the same state, and it was interesting. I think it was just pure coincidence that they did it, because I left messages in multiple places, and it seemed to have been done overnight magically. I never actually spoke to the right person.
Yeah, and it was done in a very nice way, too. It's very subtle, and, you don't come in. I saw people, before they come in, they see that do not enter, and they stop in the middle of the driveway. And it's perfect the way they did it.
It worked out nicely. Number 15, there were no issues with. Number 16, no issues. We had not fleshed it out, but there were no issues. Number 17, we were about 50% done with. We took the comments, and we're going to keep going on it. And then number 18, I think it's just a question of how to introduce, adding some sort of qualifying language that says this is what applies to text amendments. If it doesn't apply to a text amendment, it only applies to a location-based rezoning, then explain that in the, just have some sort of qualifying language to differentiate between a text amendment type of rezoning and a geographic rezoning. Under additional, there's the main one that we've been looking at. We've had a couple of years ago, 2008, there was a staff proposal to introduce a front yard paving maximum. We had not had one previously, so the regulation that we ended up with was 50% of the square footage of the front yard, the required front yard in a residential district. We have not had a single problem with this, with anyone meeting this that I recall since 2008. We've done some analysis, and I think that we probably could bring this down and meet. I think just about every property in Wheeling is in this. And I have a graphic to show you, but I think just about every property can pretty easily meet the 30% rule, and we can talk about some of the exceptions real quick. The street side, we wanted to add something to handle the street side to differentiate from the front yard, where you have the shallow lot, maybe on the end of the block, have a strict percentage rule like that, you could end up with a really large paved area in one of those. So we had talked about adding something for that. Also adding something for the R4. It is covered under the site plan review requirement, but what we'd like to, while we're doing this, while we're making the other change, we'd like to make sure that it's clearer, and then add some sort of size requirement. And what we found looking around at other codes is that it can be based off of the garage width, and we'd probably be able to come up with a rational number that would meet the needs without also allowing somebody to pave an entire front yard.
So it'd be the width of the garage plus a 4-foot walkway.
Correct. And there's a couple of graphics that we found. This one, I think I stole from California. But they've got sort of square lots. Oh, there we go. They have sort of square lots. Their regulation here, you can see the two paved areas. There's a walkway and a driveway. As an example, they've got a kind of square lot with this type of development. For Wheeling, this isn't the best illustration. They've got a 50%. In Wheeling, we found that most lots, 1.5, 2.5 car garage, you're getting about a 20 to 25% coverage in the front yard, and our current regulation is 50. So it hasn't, like we said, not been a major problem, but the idea is let's bring the regulation a little bit closer to what reality is here. We did take a look at some of the larger 3-car garages, and I think that we can write an exception that relates it again to the width of the garage, but that's fairly rare. Townhomes again related to the width of the garage. This illustration is not perfect for this, but the idea is have something that's based on the size of the garage. So if the garage is in the front, as it is in almost all of our townhomes, have something that relates back to it. Again, it's not a major problem because we have site plan review for everything in the R4, but just to reinforce that. By way of very brief overview of what's coming your way for the policy discussion, we've had quite a time going through the history of Wheeling's ordinances to try to find exactly what the policies are. Many of them were related to the time period where the Appearance Commission and the Zoning Board were consolidated into the Plan Commission. So 3 different sets of rules were combined together. So we have 4, 5, 6 ordinances now that we've seen that relate to policies. Most of them wiped out something previous or consolidated the Plan Commission rules. Some of those have become obsolete because in 2005, the comprehensive update to the zoning code completely rearranged all those sections. So and then we had a 2007 Title 17 update that did something very similar. So the end result of all of that research is that we'll probably just write something new, include everything that we've got, and have a little note at the end that says, hereby repeal everything that's in conflict. So I wish it had been more productive to have spent that much time on it, but that's the breaks. So what this will involve is going to be procedural rules. That's going to be the Claren-based regulation, or the Claren-based procedure that we've used most recently on the Phil Haven review. Then some sort of reference to general rules, Robert's Rules of Order, that sort of thing. Then we'll also talk a little bit about submittal requirements, both what the procedure is for a complete what is considered a complete application. This will be backed up by what our applications actually say. So there'll be some sort of language on the application that refers back to whatever this policy is, and then submittal deadlines, what the deadline means exactly. And I think when we looked at other municipalities, we did not find anything very helpful. A lot of them have the same sort of 2-week. In practice, they seem to waive that for small items. It's not extremely different than what we're doing. So I think what we'll do is write this up and just try to be a little bit more specific in this draft, and then put it out and discuss it at that time. But I think that we're right now going in circles trying to research something that we're not going to be able to find anywhere. Yes?
On Claren, we've been using it on very
Controversial?
controversial, thank you, acrimonious debates in here. We should be using that on any public hearing as a rule, shouldn't we?
I think the way that document's worded, it does say the word contentious in it, that you have the ability to to adopt that for use in a contentious hearing. If no one is here to speak on it, you don't have to go to the formality of identifying each stage of the review.
Okay, thank you.
I think that is what I had. Oh, so, yeah, sorry, I had a little bit more. The other things that ended up in the old policy documents that we would put back in this one would be the procedures for the agendas, you know, what the one that we've done in practice, which is try to limit our agenda to avoid somebody coming up to the podium, starting a new hearing at 11 o'clock at night, so that have some sort of disclaimer that says, you know, we distribute the agendas with the intent of keeping it to a reasonable meeting time. And then spell out the consent agenda rules from, I think it's been a couple of years now since we adopted that, so we'll just incorporate that. Just from our experience in researching this, my recommendation on number 6 here is to put this in a couple of places so that you don't have difficulty finding it in the future. As time passes, it becomes difficult to find exactly what policies are adopted, and I think having a reference in Title II, which is 254, the duties and responsibilities of the Plan Commission, having some kind of reference to what the policy is, say Ordinance X was adopted on this date, and that way you have a reference, and same thing, Title 17, Title 19, just have some kind of reference so that we don't lose track of the legislation. And then the last thing I had was just, we've had a couple of discussions recently about which meetings are special meetings, which meetings are regular meetings. Just be clear in the policy about which one is which and what it means. And that is it.
Any questions?
Yeah, Andrew, recently I've been reading in the Daily Herald that other towns have had some issues that we haven't yet considered adding to our regulations. Gold trading businesses, for one. Do we want to add that? Should we have a specific language for that type of business? And tattoo parlors is another. With the gold trading, I know some of the communities were concerned with identifying who's bringing the gold in, taking pictures of the jewelry so that the police can review that evidence in case there's, the gold can be returned to its rightful owner. And then another issue that came up recently was the temporary, if you have it in your code, storage containers that are put on single-family home sites. Let's say, well, some major remodeling is going on. Should there be some regulations about how long they can be there, how large they can be, what have you? I would think that we could look at whatever other towns have done in those areas, and maybe we would want to adopt something similar.
So taking each one, tattoo, we had been in discussion with a fairly large tattoo business a few years ago. We prohibit tattoo parlors here. There was a larger parlor that was going to be a combination art gallery, et cetera, that ended up locating, I think, in Deerfield in the end. When we were in discussion with them, what was being proposed was a text amendment to allow tattoo parlors, but define it differently and just be a little bit more specific. So as of right now, it's just prohibited. If there's another business similar to that last one who wants to come in and propose something, we would obviously work with them on their proposal. But after that happened, we didn't then pursue it on our own to bring it out of prohibited. We hadn't had any interest from anybody else to do so. So if there's a idea that we should go ahead and add it, we'd be happy to do it. But for the time being, it's prohibited.
Okay.
Cash for gold is also prohibited. We allow cash for gold only as accessory to a business such as the jewelry store, that would be able to I can't remember exactly what our limitation is, but it's accessory to an existing business. Otherwise, it's considered a pawn, and we don't allow it in any of the commercial districts. It's allowed as I believe, I-3 special use only. So it's right now it is strictly limited to businesses that have another function. What was their last one? The
pods.
storage containers. Storage containers,
which is a trade name, I guess. But
it's handled under Chapter 1910. It's the use regulations. There's uses in residential districts. It's the last of those, whatever the last number is. It's a permit, 60-day maximum, and there's a size, I think, 8 by 16, didn't we say?
okay, so what we've been operating with seems to be working just fine. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, because they can't do most of them.
Although we do have pawn shop and cash for gold at the jewelry store on Milwaukee Avenue, which is grandfathered in, I guess, right?
Where you find the cash for gold, the ones that are advertising themselves as cash for gold, they're inside a jewelry store, and one of them is a jewelry and crystal and gift shop.
Over on Hance. Yeah.
Right. So the pawn shop is grandfathered in. Any other questions?
Nope. Thank you.
We'll have this out. The hearing is June 14th for anybody interested in all these types of things. Hearing is June 14th, and we will have the staff report will be out the week before that.
Thank you.
Oh, nothing for you to sign. You can go. Other business, Mr. Burns.
Thanks. I fumbled the ball here with my iPad, and help me with this. When I did the sync of the update, I hadn't already saved the packet to my documents. So the sync overwrote most of the packet, which is why I abstained on voting on the minutes, because I never got a chance to read the minutes because
They were gone.
I erased them. Wouldn't it be just as easy when you send me an email that says sync your iPad, to send the file attached to that email as well? So I've got it in that location.
No, because they have trouble sending and receiving any large emails.
The packet, so it depends on what it is. If it's the minutes, if it's something small, sure, we can send that. The packet is too big for us to email.
Okay.
But if we're sending like a supplement to the packet, we could attach that as well. The other possibility is if you know, you're obviously not the only person to have lost the packet syncing the update. The reason we take it out of that folder is because some commissioners have notes, and if you sync it again, it'll delete the version with the notes in it. So a couple of ways we could solve that. One is have every commissioner have their own folder, and then we just copy it 7 times and then tell everybody to sync to your own. Right now it's set up as one folder for the whole commission. Then the other is, I'm trying to think of what else we could do.
I'll just try not to let it happen again, but I thought.
Well, you just have to, you have to sync and move. Sync and move. Sync it and move it right away. Don't let it sit there.
Muhammad Ali say that?
Well, if you're afraid, you make it second folder for it.
Well, that's what, yeah.
Sure. And we can, I mean, if it keeps happening, we can do that.
User error. Yeah. Well, I mean, in IT, we have names for people like
Sync and move. I like the Muhammad Ali sync and move.
Sync and move. That's it.
Yeah. I even do a thing for each meeting when we got multiple, like this week, we had multiple things. I make a folder up and put both of them in that folder, so I just have to hit that folder and open it up.
Right. I have mine set up. I have a folder called Plan Commission, and underneath the Plan Commission, I have a folder named for each date of each plan commission, and just similar to what you're doing, just move stuff in there.
And then when you're done with the meeting, I drop it into a folder I called archive.
Right, yeah. So, it's technology, Marcia. It's technology. Sorry.
Thank you, that's all I have.
And that's enough.
Yes, it is.
Commissioner Johnson.
Nothing.
Commissioner Rufato.
Andrew, just very quickly, Light Art moved out, and as I was pulling out today, I forgot to look to see if they mowed their lawn. Because it was getting high already.
I forgot to look too.
So is the town center.
Town center got taken care of today.
Oh, did it?
Tractor.
Oh, yeah, okay. That's all I had. Thank you.
Commissioner Dorband.
Thank you. I was looking through our comprehensive plan and looking for something else and realized that the date on it is July 28th, 2003, and I think we need to really look at it. Some of these things are outdated, and some of the people weren't even on the commission when we put this together, so it might be a good idea to think about reviewing it.
Yep.
That's the only thing I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Stylen.
I don't have anything, thank you.
No.
Who? Hey, mark that down.
Are the stars aligning?
You're gonna save it when you come back from vacation?
Yes, 2 months from now.
Commissioner Schaaf.
Other than wishing Commissioner Stylen a good vacation, I have nothing, thank you.
Thank you, and I have nothing either. Do I hear a motion to close?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're out of here.
Andrew?